Holy shit, Charlottetown! Look at this fucking room right now! This is really special. Don't cry. I cry a lot. I cry at every show that I go to as an audience member. I'm the guy crying. This means a lot to me. Prince Edward Island is my favorite place on earth. And I'll get into that very, very soon. But one of the first things I'd like to mention or point out is that one of my first ever, actually the first ever canada.gov.ca event happened right here in Charlottetown at the Sportsman's. It was on June 29th, 2022. At that time, someone had talked me into doing something resembling a meet and greet, which I thought was a little obnoxious of me to do. But I was pleasantly surprised when a solid chunk of people actually showed up to hang out with me and play darts at the Sportsman's. Because I was basically like, well, I'll be there. And you guys can come and say hello. And a lot of people did. At some point I decided I was gonna go up on stage and do a stage, the Sportsman's, just like the ground. It continues. But I was like, well, I'll go up and thank the people that have come. And I remember I put together a few lines that I was thinking would just, kill in the way of comedy. One of which was the beginning of an angle I thought was pretty clever, and I'm going to humiliate myself right now by repeating what I said very stupidly. I go up on stage and I'm like, I just thought I'd start by proving to all of you that I'm just as much of an islander as you are. For example, I grew up taking the trolley every day from Marco Polo Land to the Cavendish Boardwalk. Now, that got 0 laughs. Like, everyone in there was like, what? We didn't, anyway. I thought that was funny. No one else did. Not a single person. But I soldiered on. And yeah, the truth is I knew I was bombing from the very first sentence. At the time, I don't think people really wanted to hear a speech or see a show. I hadn't advertised it that way, nor had I prepared to do one. But aside from how poorly my set went that night, it sort of opened up the door for the notion that the admin, me, wanted to meet up with people in real life, and people wanted to say hello to me too. A couple months later, my friend Zach Atkinson asked me if I wanted to perform at the Shivering Songs Festival in my hometown of Fredericton, New Brunswick. Any Freddie Beach guys here tonight? Round of applause, Freddie Beach? Anybody? Okay. Love to see it. So when I was asked to do that show in my hometown of Fredericton, I immediately had a Vietnam-type PTSD episode of the Sportsman's Meetup. But ultimately, I decided that if I wrote a show, I might be able to do an hour. And long story short, that's how I've become here in front of you tonight, doing this goddamn account since November 2023 as a full-time job. And that's good, because in my notes here it says, hold for aggressive applause from the audience, which you've given me. So yeah, I did want to share, this is a damn shame. I'm like, yeah, Boo is right. There's going to be a lot of boos, and hopefully it's for the content and not for the guy on stage. I also didn't realize that this was my rooms. The room we're in right now. For those of you that don't know, absolutely, and I'm sure most of you do, but absolutely wild nightclub back in the day. Some say the biggest and best in all of the Maritimes. And like the Sportsman's, like it's not just a good bar in Charlottetown. As someone that has had a drink virtually everywhere, I can tell you that that's just a great bar no matter what. So it'll be a damn shame if it does. If they pave paradise and put up a parking lot, which is exactly what they're preparing to do, apparently, that will be a damn shame. But I'd like to sort of like backtrack a little bit. Moving forward, I will spare you some details. The details I will spare you include the fact that I spent every single summer of my youth at Marco Polo Land in Cavendish, absolutely obsessing over Rainbow Valley and Sandspit. I'll also not say that I was a loyal student at the Andrews Hockey School in Slummond Park, where my instructors included Brad Richards and a young Sidney Crosby. Right? I don't know. But here's the embarrassing fact about that. He's a year younger than me. So I had to go down on one knee and watch a kid younger than me show me how to do the fucking drill. And he got to wear a special sweater, red, white, and blue, with stars all over it, and said demonstrator. And I had to wear a stupid brown one. But, and so I don't know how many years I went to that school, once a summer for a long time. But it was, those are fond memories. And even as young as I was, like 12, 13, 14 years old, everyone was like, he's going to the NHL. And we were like, well, how do you know? Like, we're children still. Like, how could you possibly be sure of that? And they're like, no. Like, there's a team behind this guy. It's going to happen. And that's exactly what happened, obviously. But, and he signed his first deal with, like, Gatorade when he was 15. Like, he'd already made $1 million before he even was in the queue. So, that's crazy. Anyway, I went off track there, for sure. You're talking about Sid, I'm like, and then Sid did that. Okay. I'll also fail to mention that this past September, I married the love of my life, who is here tonight, and she was helping me working the merch table, and she'll be there after the show as well. Immediately following our wedding in New Brunswick, we hightailed it to Shaw's Hotel in Brackley Beach, which is where I've been staying all week, if some of you have not noticed. But it has become our happy place, somewhere we've stayed now 4 times in the past 4 years. Now, I've just lied to you about not mentioning things, because I'd like to speak a little bit about my experience as a child camping at Marco Polo Land in Cavendish, with my parents and all of my aunts and uncles neatly lined up in a row, living the absolute dream where your same age cousins were your neighbors for 2 glorious weeks. As someone from New Brunswick, a lot of my friends had cottages on French Lake or Monkey Lake, and maybe even they rented along Robertson's Point on Grand Lake, New Brunswick, near the Gemshead area, along the St. John River. That was one way to do it. In fact, I used to visit friends that did that very thing. One of my favorite non-memories is the notion that I used to think that I stayed with these friends for weeks at a time, only later to be told in life that no, you were only there for like 2 or 3 days, max. Time is truly a construct when you are a child, especially in the summertime, I would argue. But as cool as cottages are, there's really nothing that compares to shacking up in a 27-foot trailer next to your mother's brothers and sisters and getting to be your cousin's neighbors for those 2 weeks. I also like to make a joke that only people in the Maritimes would live in like a nice house or a decent home for the whole year, and then in the name of vacation, just like downsize to a trailer, for a week or 2 weeks. I think that's funny. Like, why not go nicer? It's like, no, let's fucking shut this right down. But that said, what better place to vacation than Prince Edward Island? And yeah, you guys are like, we live here. So, and I know that this might not be the ideal to think as an Islander. The province is clearly struggling with Ontarians who are hitting up the Facebook groups being like, I'm thinking of relocating to PEI with my $600,000 a year job to answer emails. How's the healthcare system out there? And you guys roll up your sleeves and fucking tear this woman apart. Ask PEI. What a slaughterhouse that is. You guys are fucking ruthless out here. And when you're not saying, don't fucking move here, it's a polite version of that, but you might as well be saying it. God love yous, but you're a special breed out here. I'll give you that. I love it. What a shit show Facebook is. I'll never quit it. Man, the boomers run that shit, and they run it well. I just can't quit it. I cannot leave Facebook. So. And one of the reasons is you guys. So, please rest assured, understand that I'm not one of these Ontarians. When I inevitably move here, I promise to arrive as poor as all of you. Sorry about that one. All this to say, I'm not an Islander. I'll never truly be an Islander. I'm barely a New Brunswicker or a Maritimer, being from Fredericton. We just have a river. We're not sea people. We got 2 universities and the government. I hadn't seen a fisherman until I was 16 years old. So. But I do exist as someone that appreciates the hell of this province. And I promise you this more than absolutely anyone else that has ever come to this insanely beautiful cradle on the waves. Anyway, what really is an Islander or a Maritimer on stolen land? Ooh, that's a conversation for another day. In the meantime, let's pretend I didn't just say that. Carry on with the show. I've recently had some very kind followers bring their parents to these shows. And while I've done events in Dartmouth, Toronto, Peterborough, Hamilton, Ottawa, Montreal, and St. John's, Newfoundland, it's kind of worried me when some parents come. Like, do they know why they're here? Do they know what this is? So that said, if you're not sure what's really going on tonight, or if you don't follow my account, first of all, what the hell are you doing here? But secondly, may I just quickly say I run a Canadian history type Instagram account where I deliver little vignettes on pieces of Canadian arts, culture, music, history, etc. I take little elements of our past that interest me, and either by way of the account or the live show, I give my unsolicited commentary. But since starting this account in 2017, I've amassed over 80,000 followers. And it's been nothing short of a wild ride. A lot has happened since my first ever live show. As I mentioned, I married my beautiful wife. And in November, we ditched our apartment in Montreal. We moved full-time to our cottage an hour north of town in Montreal. And that was all done so that I could quit my job at McGill University, which was just the worst. Worked there for 6 years, hated every day. So thank you for making my dream come true. Yeah, thanks. Let's get on with the fucking show here, guys. Okay, so some of these slides, you know, I rarely rehearse, so I don't really know what's coming next. Oh, this is good. Save Sportsman Club. I don't know if you guys know about this account, but check it out. I thought I would toss that out. Oh, this is a major accomplishment of mine. Allow me to spend 25 minutes talking about this. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, shit. It's alright. It's not supposed to be there. Oh. Did they go to Sears? And that was like Mario looks like, I think when this photo's taken, they're on the same team. Mario is playing for the Penguins still. Crosby was drafted. And Crosby was like 18, so they didn't let Crosby live in his own apartment in Pittsburgh or like in a house. He moved in with Mario Lemieux. I talk about protecting your investment. Like, no, you're living under my roof, sir. But why is only Sid in a jersey? Anyway, it's just fucked up. Yeah. Aww, that's nice. Looks like Paul Martin got a shirt from his mother for Christmas. Yeah, he's trying it on. You guys are gonna. We didn't like him at the time, but you're gonna miss him when Paulie ever gets elected. I'll tell you that right now. Oh my Jesus! This must be from my private collection. Is that Rick Mercer looking at Suzuki's bare ass with a Gemini? Okay. So I actually do. I'm pretending I don't know the story behind this picture, but of course I do. I've been in touch with Rick Mercer about this photo. I DM'd him, and he got back to me right away, which I thought was really cool of Rick Mercer. But I was like, what the fuck is going on here? He goes, funny story. It was at a Gemini's after party. Like, you know what the Geminis are? I was like, all right, it's the Canadian version of the Emmys, which maybe 10% of you have ever watched. Like, north of 60 wins again. Who gives a fuck? I say this until someday I get asked to host it, and I'll be like, this is the greatest award show ever. Anyway, this was not staged. It really was Mercer looking at Suzuki's ass and making that face. And someone caught it on camera. So, there you go. Okay, and then we got Ron McLean here. So I like to show this one at my shows as sort of like a warning to anyone that has like an office Christmas party. Like, this could be you if you're not careful. So keep your eye on the ball. That's all I'm saying. Apparently Ron rages. That's the ringer. Oh, this is cute. Okay. So every time someone pours a rum and Pepsi, a Maritimer is born. Some of my finest work right here. Okay, does anyone recognize the location in this photo? If I'm not mistaken, that is the New Glasgow Lobster Supper. So this says, point of view, this group tells you they haven't seen you since you were yay high, even though you are 35 years old. I used to change your diaper. It's like, okay, I'm 40, and we're in a public place. Did you have to say that in front of my wife? Okay. Now, you guys have Frenchies here? You don't? You do? Conflicting reports I'm getting here right now. You have one Frenchies? And so, oh, it's in Summerside. Oh, it's not there anymore? I had to be the Frenchies in Summerside. It's on the water. So it is there? Can you guys have a meeting and discuss this? This one says, they say every time an angel whispers, way she goes, a Maritimer is born. Similar joke to the last one. I'm not a very creative person. So if something works, I lean right into it. This one says, I'm gonna have to move out of New Brunswick. I just saw a pit bull smoking an Export A green in Dieppe. That's how you know your rent is going down, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man, I'm making myself laugh up here today. It's great. Jesus, oh God. Okay. You guys all sat on these Venrez chairs in school too, right? This is kind of one of my more quintessential moments on the account. This is a common theme with the account. Like, my submissions that people send me, I keep them coming, by the way. They're often the best posts. Like, they're the best ideas. Like, I can't possibly come up with all this shit. it's typically sourced, like it's like 50% crowd sourced, I would say. And this guy sent me a photo of this venerized chair and told me the backstory about it, and was like, I don't know if you've ever touched on this. And I was like, no, I haven't, but holy shit, I did sit in one of those for 12 years straight. And the story that's behind it, which is really interesting, is that like these two brothers from Shelburne, Nova Scotia, came back from the World War II, where they worked on Spitfires, and they primarily worked with like veneer and resin, which is why those chairs are called Ven-Res, veneer and resin. But these planes were essentially indestructible. Like if they were shot down and crashed, they would be fixed and put back up into the air, which was crazy. And so when the war ended, these two brothers were like, what if we made school furniture just like those planes? And it was a good idea, because their first contract was from the government of Nova Scotia for $6 million in the 60s, which was like $100 billion today or something. Anyway, this one's funny because someone has lined up all these Ven-Res chairs for a wedding on the beach with the Confederation Bridge in the background. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's pretty neat, eh? And the person that sent me the photo was like, so why did they? And they're like, oh, the father of the bride is a school principal. So that's why. Those were taken right out of the room behind the gym. Loaded. Right? I like that. I find that very funny. Okay, let's tell a little story here. This is fun. Sometimes people ask me, they're like, you must get some sort of like celebrity interactions. Like what's the best celebrity interaction you've ever had? I was like, well, I'll tell you the worst. I used to do these little Valentines around Valentine's Day. I still do, but and I would do I used to do sort of like C-list and B-list Canadian celebrities. Now I do it and I purely roast the conservative politicians. Fuck those guys. But I used to do celebrities like Jan Arden. And on this one occasion, I did this one. And this one's not really a dig at her at all. It just says, Could I Be Your Girl? Which is obviously a track off of her amazing record, Living Under June. Not a bad song on that album, may I say. So I made this and I posted it, and obviously she caught wind of it. And commented under the post. And it wasn't a happy comment. She said, please stop the live export of horses to Japan. It's unbelievably cruel. 4 large draft horses crammed into wooden crates, no headroom, no food, no water, 2 days shitting on each other? Long, turbulent flight overseas is just insane. Then they're killed brutally and they're eaten raw by rich people. Hashtag stop live horse export. So I responded, hi Jan. Massive fan here. Not ironic in the least, I swear to God, I am a Jan fan, and you'll find out for sure in a minute. Just wanted to clarify that I'm not actually affiliated with the government in any capacity, but rather a simple citizen and proud owner of Living Under June and a ticket stub to your show at the Aiken Center, Fredericton, 1997, my first ever concert. Love you, Jan. Now, you would think, see how it says pinned by author. You would think that at some point she would have taken that down. No, that is still up. That comment is still there, which I find really, really funny. This is our Lord and Savior, Anne Murray. Somehow queer icon Anne Murray. Just the energy, I think. So the Jan story is sad, but the Anne story is nice, because at one point I was posting a lot about Anne Murray on my stories, and at one point I posted a clip that got back to her. I think it's her daughter Dawn Langstrop that follows me. And so that's how it got to Anne. But Anne DM'd me. Anne Murray slid into my DMs. It's a real thing that happened in my life. And she said, where did you get this footage? I've never seen it before. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Fuck, I really nailed it there. But a couple weeks go by and I got a huge package in the mail. It was like this big gift basket, and it was from the Anne Murray team in Springwater, Nova Scotia. Spring Hill. Fuck. Thanks, guys. Too many Alpines, eh? Spring Hill, and I know that. My roommate at university is from Spring Hill as well. Anyway, this hat was in the gift basket, if you can see. There's the Anne Murray Center. And there was this beautiful crew neck sweater. It's like kind of the sickest merch I've ever seen to this day. It was just a blank crew neck. And then in cursive writing, it just says, Anne Murray. Just like, that is so tight, I think. But then there was an 8x10 signed by Anne, and it says admin. XO, Anne. And what's neat about that is that they also included another one with my name, John. But someone on our team was like, he's anonymous, so we have to give him one he can post and one for him. Isn't that fucking the most adorable thing you've ever heard? So I had to share that. Another cute anecdote is that Adam Baldwin, I don't know if you guys know who that is. Adam Baldwin, he was in yeah, fucking amazing. He's like the Stan Rogers of our time. I truly believe this. He's writing from this amazing perspective. He's truly an incredible folk singer. I recommend seeing him if you can. He was in El Torpedo, which was Matt May's band. Yeah, another great. I was explaining to someone recently that like Matt May's, like back in the day, and still, you know, to a degree, like this huge superstar. I was like, Sloan is like the Beatles on the East Coast. And Matt May was a pretty big deal as well. But Adam Baldwin follows me and invited me to come see him in Montreal and said, I'd like to put you on my guest list. And I thought that was really nice. He says, I'm opening for Alan Doyle. Fuck yeah, I'll be there. There's Adam again there. And there's me and Adam having a drink after the show. And I remember a couple days go by and I wrote him and I was like, this is, I'm really sorry, but yes, I'm coming to the show, I'm coming with my wife, we can't wait. Would I be able to meet Alan by any chance? And the happy story is, yes, I did. There's me and Alan Doyle. Yeah! I was pretty fired up about that. Okay. Let's talk about Rainbow Valley for a second. I'm not gonna do this for too long. I hope. I really think I could do a full show on this. Long before I started this account, in fact, like 6 or 7 or 8 years before I started this account, my first ever internet joke or prank was that I started the Rainbow Valley Facebook page. I had no right to do this. Thousands of followers start flying in. And this is like years after it's been closed. It closed in like 2005. This is like 2010. But, you know, people don't know that it's closed. And to this day, I get messages, what time is open? And because I am an asshole and did this, I answer those messages. I said I work with them. And I say, yeah, sorry, we've been closed for quite a while now. But you know what I do? I actually recommend that people go to the man that started Rainbow Valley. His name was Earl Davidson. And his son, John Davidson, runs the Haunted Mansion in Kensington. There you go. I'm sure most of you knew that, but so I recommend people go there instead. In fact, if you want some Rainbow Valley merch, you can find it to this day, I believe, in the gift shop of the Haunted Mansion, because he still has some of it. So if you want a tank top, head on over there. I also like to say that Rainbow Valley is interesting because it was like weirdly, like it was like psychedelic in like a weirdly threatening way. Kind of like Alice in Wonderland or something, and like a lot of like theme parks that you go to with like your family, it's like all happy and, you know, butterflies and everything is good to go, everything's, you know, positive. Rainbow Valley wasn't. Something was fucked up about that place. In a good way, like in an interesting way, but I think like that was sort of something that we do well in the Maritimes, whether we realize it or not. Like we kind of have this zany side, especially because Rainbow Valley was, like, that was built in like the 60s, or late 60s, I believe. I'm no expert on Rainbow Valley. But I do find it to be a bizarre encapsulation of a maritime talent, of being exciting and weird. I also remember being kind of disappointed going into the UFO only to find out it was the gift shop. But there's also two guests here tonight, Patrick Callbeck and Alexis Pullman, who are here. And it's worth noting that these two geniuses made an amazing Rainbow Valley documentary. They were also at my meetup that I mentioned previously at the Sportsman's, so I really appreciated that. And Patrick told me today via DMs, I said, do you have tickets for things? That we were one of the first to buy them when they went on sale. So that means a lot to me. And I think I have. Oh, okay, so I also wanted to say this. So I used to write poems as statuses for the account, as if I was like writing these poems from the perspective of Rainbow Valley. So weird. Anyway, this one reads, something amiss in the sky. A bird or plane or a memory gone by. We can hover through an old photo album, dig through negatives and find only positives. Right? Pretty fucking good line there. Look at your shorts. I remember those shoes. There's something alive in the sky. The time we spent together gone by. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an excellent poem by me. And did you guys know that the UFO briefly was up in the sky like that? It wasn't always flat in the park. It initially was up in the sky, suspended. Very interesting. Another poem. We are looming somewhere between a winter scene and a rum runner's dream. Wheat mazes make our pushed minds wander, our heart a broken water slide. Cursed duct tape fraying at the ends. The slide is dry, the shade is cold, looming somewhere in between a winter scene and a rum runner's dream. This guy's not bad. Now notice the date, so it's March, and that's why it has this kind of disappointing feel to it. We're waiting for the summer. But yeah, so people started sending me all these photos, and it was sort of like, you could say it was like a precursor to this account, because all these people were sort of contributing out of their own personal collection. And that's stuff you can't Google. You can't Google people's personal shit. But if you start a conversation, they will willingly send it to you, and then you can sort of be that person that collects it, which, you know, I think is pretty neat. There's me in my Rainbow Valley tank top from the Kensington Haunted Mansion gift shop with a glass. Probably having a G&T there or something. That was the last logo and design that they used. And here's the trailer for Alexis and Patrick's film. So I thought I would play it. I hope that the volume here is not too aggressive. I think I have it low right now. And I'm gonna put it up.
There's a golden light, there's a special glamour that plays over the northern part of our island. remote valley. It was the perfect center of what that goldenness was all about.
The bushwhacker. The place, hindsight, that little roller coaster was a piece of shit, but I loved it at the time.
This was made out of fiberglass. And what did a water slide have to do with a rowboat? Have to do with a gift shop in the shape of a flying saucer? Have to do with a witch's cave? Have to do with a magic show? It seemed like there were all these bizarre components to this park. And yet there was something about it that was magical.
Bizarre is the word. Bring it back. Fucking brutal. That guy with the Canada hat that's on the little tilt there, there's an amazing part of the doc where he talks about how he had like a pet chipmunk for summer. It would come up in his pocket. It's like, fuck, that's cute as hell. And it was sort of like a crazy way that it ended. Like Earl Davidson, the guy that built it, I could be wrong, and if anyone's going to know, it's someone in this room and not me, but I believe that he thought he was sick. And so he sold the park to Parks Canada, but then it was kind of like a false alarm situation. He recovered, he got better, and then went on record saying, like, damn, I shouldn't have sold the park. But that's what happened, and now it lives in our hearts. So there you go. A little bit of a Rainbow Valley. Now some of you may recognize Boomer Gallant on the right. First of all, how many Gallants are in the room right now? Was there some? Should have taken fucking roll call when you guys walked in. McDonald, Arsenal. Glad I didn't though. I want to talk a little bit about something that is known as the Gaelic gasp. You hear it? It's funny because usually people know what it is, but they don't know that term for it. But like you guys all did and started doing it. Now I feel stupid because I'm about to explain what it is, and you all. What is a Gaelic gasp, you may ask, but if you live in Scotland or the Atlantic provinces, chances are you've heard it before. It's technically referred to as ingressive sound or ingressive pulmonic speech. A Gaelic gasp is a linguistic phenomenon that originates from the Scottish Highlands. However, it's commonly found in the lowlands, Nova Scotia, PEI, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, and parts of Maine, the Ottawa Valley as well, and it has found its way into Quebec in the form of true story. It is characterized as being a sharp intake of breath while saying words such as yeah, and it's often used in agreement. Many have suggested that it actually has its roots in the Scandinavian languages and that it was introduced to Scotland by the Vikings. The main function of inhaled speech can be paralinguistic, showing agreement with the statement, encouraging the speaker to continue. What makes the Gaelic gasp so interesting is that most people are completely unaware that they're doing it. And many will deny even doing it at all. Another interesting thing is that sometimes people will become competitive using the Gaelic gasp more and more when put in conversation with another person using it. So it's just back and forth, like a fucking tennis match. I have a few examples of mine that I would like to share. This is a good one.
Yeah. Final one, and this one, no real verbiage, but it's an inhale for yes.
Did you notice how it inhale? So it's a big inhale. It's not a medical condition. It's an island nonverbal for yes.
Okay, let's try that on this question. Ready? Did it take us way too long to get through this?
Yeah.
Way! I hear that.
That's good, eh? It's not even a yeah sometimes. It's just the breath. Like there's no good pronunciation there. Like I just literally a gasp. I think funny. Okay, here's another one. Some of you may recognize this. as a clip from Jeremy Larder's masterpiece, Just Passing Through. And I don't know the names of these young ladies in this clip, but they're fucking awesome actresses on this show, and I think they deserve some credit.
Let me hear your PEI accent.
Yeah, man, someday, man.
Jesus, wrong island, dummy. You don't even sound like an islander. I'll do the talking for the both of us.
G'day, how you doing? We'd like to join up with this PEI's Got Talents cocksucker thing. Shit. Yeah. Born and raised. Nice day out there. Not bad. A little bit of cold, a little bit of wind. Soon to warm up, though. Fuck the bridge, I'm crossing class.
Fuck the bridge, Emma.
Up west, Albert McLeod, or down east, Albert McLeod?
Up west.
You, dear?
This is Sister Gladys. Not like none, though. She's my sister. She's the other McLeod girl.
Don't comply in this see.
She got kicked in the head by a cow when she was a child. Hasn't spoken a word since. But she sings like an angel.
What a friggin' sin.
What a friggin' sin. Pretty good stuff. Okay, I want to talk about Mike Duffy. Yeah. First of all, is anyone related to Mike Duffy here? Is that anyone's like dad or some shit? Is it not? Full steam ahead, baby. So I have a bit of a reputation for going after conservative politicians, and that's fine because I literally do that. So it's not a rumor. But this has to be one of my favorite examples of an insanely entitled conservative dude just absolutely shitting the bed in every possible way. Let's start with why Mike Duffy was charged by the RCMP with 31 offenses. I'm sure the Islanders in this room will be fairly familiar with the story, but regardless, it's a pretty good one. Essentially, Senator Duffy, a former media figure, was accused of claiming that his primary residence was a small cottage on 10 Friendly Lane in Cavendish. Now that doesn't sound like a primary residence already, does it? Who lives permanently at 10 Friendly Lane? And he then said that his mansion in Canada, Ontario, just outside of Ottawa, was his, oh, we got some, okay, nice. Love that for you. Hate it for Mike Duffy, love it for you. When Mike Duffy bought that house next to the Canada golf course in 2003, he paid $292,000 for it. At the time, he worked for a broadcaster covering Parliament Hill. It just reminds me of our baby boomer seniors who bought their homes for 14 strawberries and a limerick in 1979. But I digress. The Duffy scandal is not even my favorite part about Mike Duffy. And I know that he's dead, so this is sort of in poor taste, but whatever. Fuck him! No. My favorite part of the Duffy lore is when he started sending out these pre-AI messages to potential donors of the Conservative Party of Canada. Basically, his team figured out a way to set up a website where it takes your first name and creates a personalized video from the senator, where he would say, hey John, or hey Larry, or hey Sarah, or hey Elaine, or whatever, followed by Mike Duffy here. Or sometimes he would go, it's the old Duff, and then ask you for money. And I hope the volume isn't too aggressive here, because I think I have a few versions of it. So this is what the website looks like. Now, this wasn't meant for the public. It was what the party used to create these robocalls, but it's still up. No one took it down, ever. And look at all the names. And it goes on and on. So I used to prank all my friends. I would send them, hey, old Duffy. Just over Duffy Says Hi. And it's this weird website, app.canada.gov.ca/Duffy/Brett. The fuck does that mean? Unbelievable. So this was Duffy's secondary home in Canada. Yeah. And this was his primary residence. This might be the best part of the show. Right here. All downhill from here. Okay.
Hi, Michael. The old Duff here. I'm here today to ask you to donate to the Conservative
Look at him
Party.
floating on the screen.
Soon, Canadians will have to decide between a proven leader and Prime Minister Stephen Harper.
Oh, this is brutal.
Visiting professor.
I forget how bad it was.
Hi, Jason. It's Mike Duff.
I didn't get the Wi-Fi for this room. I considered Crouch. I was like, "What's your name?" And I was gonna make him say it to you. But we're not doing that. I got a lot to go through here, so we got to keep her moving.
Hello, David. The old Duff here.
So, take a pic. Get your phones. There's the fucking website. When you get home, make Mike Duffy say hello to you. From beyond the grave. And God love him, I'm sure he was a lovely guy sometimes. But what? He's not dead? Is he from Springwater? He's not dead? I'm certain he was dead. This is what? He's just hanging out at Avonlea Village, where he lives all the time. So I didn't make this. I found a photo of him inexplicably in a donut, and I think it's better with no context. Like, there must be a reason someone made this, but I don't know it, and there it is. So, what do Anna Green Gables and Conservative Senator Mike Duffy have in common? They're both fictional residents of Princeton. That's pretty good. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on, guys. I was like, we're only going to do Duffy for a minute. It was like half an hour. I want to talk about all the men that Lucy Maud Montgomery rejected. Sometimes I like to think of them, and I just want to start in the beginning, and we're going to go in order. Her first suitor came when she was 14 years old. His name was Nate Lockhart, and that's him right there on the screen. He was a young man from Cavendish. To Lucy, their relationship was, and I quote, merely a humorous and witty friendship. But it came to a screeching halt when she refused his marriage proposal. Next, there was a man named John A. Mustard. Mustard on the beat. He was her teacher. Pretty cool, right? Nothing wrong with that. Who cares? Howard Danihick, never heard of it. She describes his advances as unwelcome and noted his best attempts at conversation were his thoughts on predestination and other dry points of theology. So there's Mr. Mustard, and he did it in the Green Gables. That's not in my script, I just thought of that. Come on, round of applause, let's go. Jesus, give me a fucking break here. Okay. While John Mustard pursued in vain, Lucy turned her attention to Will Pritchard. Will is interesting because it seems that Lucy, Maud Montgomery, actually liked this guy. But she didn't like anybody. He was the brother of her good friend Laura Pritchard. Will Pritchard is also thought to be the inspiration for Anne's love interest, Gilbert Blythe. So this is the real life Gilbert. Right here. Isn't that cool? I think that's cool. So Lucy and Will did have something going, but ultimately he felt more than she did. and she eventually referred to him as merely a good chum, friend-zoned. And that's why I find it sort of like unlikely when you read about like Anne and Gilbert getting together. It's like Anne never would have, like she shouldn't have ended up with anybody, I don't think. Right? Do you know what I mean? True, yeah, thanks. Some support. Then we have a man named Edward Simpson. Ed's proposal was actually initially accepted by Lucy. She would later write, however, that she accepted it out of a desire for protection and that she felt her other prospects were rather poor. Later, she would state that she found him physically and emotionally repellent. Also, Lucy wrote everything down, like every thought. So like we don't have to wonder anything. It's there, which I think is super cool because she was so smart and so amazing. While engaged to Ed, she took a teaching job in Lower Bedeck, boarding with the Leard family. I believe it's pronounced Leard, L-E-A-R-D. Lit. See, I've been wrong before. Pretty much every other sentence tonight. Man. Sorry, guys. There she met young Herman Laird, which is this chick. Oh, we like him. Couple fucking whistles there. And when they met, he was engaged to someone else. Spicy. But nothing could stop them. Then she began an affair with the only man she ever loved. This man here. And she referred to him as an attractive young animal. Lose it! Getting it! Love that for her. She would later write, Herman suddenly bent his head and his lips touched my face. I cannot tell what possessed me. I seemed swayed by a power utterly beyond my control. I turned my head. Our lips met in one long, passionate pressure, a kiss of fire and rapture, such I had never experienced or imagined. Ed's kisses, at the best, left me cold as ice. Herman's sent flame through every fiber of my being. You guys are like, what chapter was that? Doesn't sound like wind at my back at all. While she desired to maintain her virginity prior to marriage, Montgomery often invited Laird into her bedroom when everybody else was out. And though she refused to have sex with him, she and Laird engaged in kissing and preliminary lovemaking. Excuse me? Hot. Lucy would eventually marry the Reverend Evan MacDonald and move to Ontario and have 3 kids and live absolutely miserably until her death. I know, but that's well documented. I don't shoot the messenger. Babe! Kind of makes the last part a little sexier, doesn't it? Okay. Sorry, because I never know what's next. And I mentioned Frenchies earlier. We're moving on to the next one. But this isn't a long thing. I just wanted to point out that this couple got married in a Frenchies, which I think is really, really nice. They also asked if the Frenchies could be closed while they got married, and the Frenchies said no. So you can see people in the background shopping while they got married, which is just fucking ridiculous. Give them 30 minutes. How hard would that have been? What, you would have like lost like $18? Like, Jesus Christ. I can't get over that detail. The bins, and then there's just someone in the background like, yeah, not my size. Like, fuck. Where are they now? I believe, oh Jesus. Because Alpine must have heard that Lucy Maud did. I'm gonna get canceled in Charlottetown, PEI. There's the wedding. It's pretty cute. Yeah, like, come on. And there's a videographer. And then there's just some other person in the back looking for used underwear. Yeah, pretty ridiculous. How about this? Yeah! It's like the biggest reaction of the night. Froggies. For those that don't know, this was a Frenchie's type store. And now I'm scared to say that it's closed. Because, is it closed? Are we sure? Is that unanimous? One person's like, no, it's still there. Move to summertime. Fucking guys. Okay, we're moving on. In 2010, yeah, that's the next topic, a natural progression of froggies. Regis! In 2010, something very strange happened. It was a level of desperation I've not seen from a government since. If I told you that my friends and I were in shambles over this, I'd be underselling the manner in which we were losing it. When Live with Regis and Kelly decided to film a couple episodes on Prince Edward Island, was anyone there? Like most of you? That's weird. The government of New Brunswick decided to piggyback on this occasion. The result was the most unhinged and half-assed, even for the time, might I say pathetic, yet somehow brilliant effort by way of a video called Regis is Big in New Brunswick to coax him to stop in New Brunswick along the way. A little context first. The morning show starring Mr. Philbin would take the show on the road a couple times a year, sometimes to Orlando, New Orleans, or somewhere funky, but somewhere other than their home base of Manhattan, New York. The PEI government's travel office contacted the series in partnership with the federal government. An invitation to come north was extended. The government hoped the show would boost tourism to PEI, like you really needed the help. Somewhere along the line, it was determined that the show would be traveling by bus. Therefore, the geniuses at the New Brunswick government realized, wait a minute, Regis is going to be in this place. Doing what people do when they're in New Brunswick, driving through to somewhere else. Perhaps, they thought, we could come up with an absolutely amazing video to try to convince him to stick around, either on the way to PEI or on the way back. From what I understand, the video was 100% ignored, and there's no evidence that Regis got off the highway en route to PEI. Story of our lives in New Brunswick. Now, eventually, he did come back to New Brunswick. I think he felt bad. He went to Casino New Brunswick and Moncton. Whatever. But there they are. Must have been in Charlottetown, eh? On the water. Look at the enthusiasm. They're just like, fuck my life. Alright, here it is, folks. Someone got paid to do this.
He's bigger than Hopewell Rocks. We're pulling out all the stops. Regis is big in New Brunswick. He'll feel like he's back home again. Next to that salmon in Campbellton. He's big in New Brunswick. He's bigger than lobster and shrimp.
Yeah, I know the word now.
He's bigger than the Maple Leaf in St. Content. He's bigger than the largest axe in that way.
Fucking brutal.
He's a legend in our times. He'll be in the headlines. Regis big in New Brunswick. We hope you'll be around. Regis comes to town. Regis big in New Brunswick.
The worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. For me, and he didn't come. He saw that and was like, "What? That's it. Not a chance." So my buddies and I would like come home from the bar, get super baked, and watch that on repeat. And that's when it had a good purpose. Like it really served something. You're stoned as hell, being like, "What?" Anywho, all right, let's move on here. I had some other shit in the script here about Regis, but I've had my fill. No pun intended. I gotta remember these. There's been a few good on the fly jokes tonight. Okay. A while ago, I did a post on Angie's. Do any of the gentlemen in this room know what Angie's is? Maybe some of the ladies too. Dare I discriminate? Angie's is a strip club in Moncton, as I'm sure many of you know. At one point, it was the only remaining strip club in the Maritimes. And I think right now it's the only one. I could be mistaken, because again, I'm wrong all the fucking time. But when I did this post on Andrews, I had some really interesting comments. The one that really stood out was someone commented, "There is a story of a secret strip club on Prince Edward Island." And the person goes on to say, "When we got the Confederation Trail, there was a spot that opened up off the trail in the winter that was only accessible by skidoo." And then the guy goes, "For the longest time, it had a good thing going. Until the wives started to wonder where all the men were going. And they figured it out. One night, the wives waited until the men left and they rushed to the club, retrieving the husbands when they got there, and shutting it down." I thought this was sort of a myth until I met a guy who went. Confirmed. He took his skidoo across the harbor in Summerside. It was a shortcut, and that night he ran out of gas on the way. In short, he missed the wife raid, prolonging his marriage for a few more years. He later told me he's now divorced. But he wasn't there when the raid happened because he ran out of gas in his skidoo on the way there. Incredible. So let's recap. What this follower is telling me, there was a secret strip club off the Confederation Trail, accessible only by snowmobile. One night, the wives went out before their husbands arrived and ambushed them. The only way this guy knew it was true was because his buddy's snowmobile broke down, etc. Has anyone in this room ever heard about this story? Yeah? One dude. Yeah, I wasn't there, but... someone followed up by saying, "I babysat for a couple who had a lodge. They hosted a lot of Saturday night parties. An RCMP officer told my mother and father that they were running strippers from Moncton up to do parties at a lodge. That ended up," this person goes, "This is a DM. That was the best babysitting gig I ever had." Not sure why that detail's relevant, but apparently every teenage boy in the area wanted to peep in the windows and check out the talent. Anyway, when it comes to my account, this is exactly the thing that I want to learn about. I use the DMs I want, or like the comments, like, "Well, you must know about the secret strip club of PEI." Like, of course not. Lay it on me, baby. I'm not sure if anyone in the room is familiar with Kate McKenna. PEI native and now a major CBC correspondent for Parliament Hill. But for reference, she is a loyal follower of my account. And when she saw the post about the Confederation Trail Strip Club, she commented under that gentleman's comment saying, "Can you please get in touch? I'd love to hear more about it." Same, Kate. So there's the comment. I'm not full of shit. There it is. I read it to you already, but If anyone knows who Karma Cake is Karma Cake here? You never know. And then there's the other one. So that was funny. There's the PEI strippers. I don't know who these people are. Okay, all right. I'm trying to rip through this, guys. I know, I don't think I'm good enough to warrant being on stage this long, but I couldn't. There was nothing. Thanks. There was nothing I could cut for this show, so I just had to do it all. But I would like to talk about the PEI Pie Brigade. There's a lot going on with this, but from what I've learned over the many years investigating, they were inspired by another group called Les Entaltistes. Les Entaltistes were a Canadian satirical political group active in the late 90s and early 2000s, whose members threw cream pies at political and cultural figures whom they deemed to be in need of public embarrassment. A member of the group who identified himself only as Pope Tart told the Montreal Gazette in 1999 that the group's core philosophy was, "You work for us, you can't be too big for your britches or you'll get a pie in the face." I should also mention that they were essentially the military arm of the Rhinoceros Party of Canada. If anybody remembers that from back in the day. But back to business. The PEI Pie Brigade were an offshoot of Les Entaltistes, and may I say, a more successful version than the inspiration. For example, the PEI Pie Brigade was successful in pieing the sitting Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, which has to be one of the more iconic moments in Canadian and Prince Edward Island history, I would have to say. The guy that nailed Chrétien with a clear shot, I might add, was a young man named Evan Brown. Anybody know Evan? He was 23 at the time. Ballsy. I love it. Like, he could have been shot. You know? Like, that's a sketchy move. Risky, I'm gonna say. But yeah, a bunch of people, when I did this post on this years ago, I was like, I went to school with that guy. Great dude. And I later learned that he was like a theater guy, like a stagehand, this Evan Brown. And then he's actually written, produced, and performed a one-man show about the incident. About pieing Jean Chrétien. So God love that dude.
John Jeffrey reports.
Late this morning, Prime Minister John Chrétien arrived at the Old Home Week fair. There was only a small crowd and security was relaxed. This was just to be a photo opportunity for Chrétien. No one expected what happened almost immediately. Police arrested 23-year-old Evan Brown, member of a new group calling itself the PEI Pie Brigade.
The PEI Pie Brigade!
Evan Brown. I think just about everybody in this country has a problem. Aaron Colazar is another member of the group.
One of the representatives of the PEI Pie Brigade has put a pie in the face of Jean Chrétien, a direct hit I might add.
A direct hit.
This is for all of Jean Chrétien's social crimes, but in particular because he's force-feeding genetically engineered food on the public of Canada without any testing.
Yeah, it was like an agricultural protest. Was like they were pissed about spraying, which, okay, fair, but not the reason you'd expect, I don't think. Is that the same thing?
The Quebec group that has targeted public figures there. You might remember former Premier Jacques Parizeau took a pie in the face and laid assault charges. That trial is due in December. Intergovernmental Affairs Minister Stéphane Dion also brought charges after this attack. His attackers received suspended sentences and community service. Pierre Pettigrew, who's now Minister of International Trade, didn't pursue charges after this.
But they got all these people!
Police and former Mayor Jean Dolan was one of the protesters live on TV. Also, the former head of the English rights group in Quebec was struck during a session.
Well, he deserved it the most. English rights group in Quebec? Jesus. And that's what's so embarrassing about our premier in New Brunswick, Blaine Higgs, because he was the leader of a party in the 80s called the CORE, the Confederation of Regions Party, and their one platform was anti-French. That was they had one trick, and it was make New Brunswick not, great again, no, I'm just kidding, make New Brunswick not a bilingual province. Like, that's all you got? And then he goes and works for Irving for 30 years and then becomes our premier. We are called a company province, not a real province, if you ask me. This might be an edit done by the
washroom. Oh, no,
yeah. So this is Chrétien after the incident. He just went and changed and everything was much tighter.
How did you feel about the eye throwing incident? Just said, I don't talk to company. But for the RCMP, this is a major breach of security. Quickly.
What happened to pepper? I put it on my plate, Mr. Chrétien. No, I don't comment about this.
Court this afternoon, and he was charged with assault. The RCMP says it started a complete review of security for the Prime Minister. It says the job is very tough.
Anyway. There's Ralph Klein, he got one too. Stockwell Day got chocolate milk, which I thought was really funny. Yeah, and then we have, I used to do these really weird edits. I was like, you know, this clip could use some Jimmy Rankin. Anyway, this is called having too much time on your hands. But I can't apologize for who I am.
Yes, I forgave. Justice was made accountable. From the shore of hell, it stands down doesn't happen in this country. Evan Brown.
Evan Brown. Anyway, okay. Moving on. I've always been pretty stoked about this place that I didn't ever get to go to, but it was called Gordy's Bar in Charlottetown. Gordy's Lounge? I'm pretty sure there's a clip that says Gordy's Bar. Fuck you guys, man. So there's Gordy's, Gordy's Lounge, whatever the hell. And then, wasn't there a guy named Slick? Love this shit. Okay, I just wanted to say, I wanted to show this clip. I think it speaks for itself. I don't have to say anything.
Bootleggers are not terribly hard to find in Charlottetown. There are the subtle hints, like picture windows with smoked glass, and the not so subtle hints, like the truck.
Like Romeo on the fucking Indies.
About 25 bootleggers in this city of 16,000.
Bootlegging's been a part of our island culture for literally centuries.
It's
just a cop, like the police.
Don't get in unless the bootlegger knows.
We got no problem.
There's takeout service, but on Prince Edward Island, it's more common to drink in. This is Gordy Dunn's place. He had to move his operation here recently after police raided his old place just 2 days ago. Gordy had renovated.
I had this addition on out here and put in a pool table, which you know very well.
Gordy Dunn says he pays taxes on his bootleg income that most in Charlottetown know what he does and regard him as just another small businessman trying to carry on a family tradition.
I thought so. And I'm sure it was Gordy's Lounge. I mean no disrespect. I'm sure there was. I'm not trying to be impolite.
Well, my family was bootlegging this town for 75 years. My grandmother.
Yeah, I come from a long line of bootleggers.
So, it's a way of
It's
life.
true, amazing.
Bootlegging is a way of island life because for the longest time you couldn't get a drink here legally. Prohibition wasn't abolished until the early 19th